Can I write a book and buy a house in 30 days? I'll talk about how both are going, but first I want to start with a bit of inspiration. This is by Frank Hebert, who wrote the Dune series of sci-fi books. I don't worry about inspiration or anything like that. Later, coming back and reading what I have produced, I am unable to detect the difference between what came easily and when I had to sit down and say, well, now it's writing time, and now I'll write. One of the hardest lessons to learn as a creator is that producing creative work doesn't always feel good in the moment. The myth that great work comes only from moments of joy or inspiration can hold us back. Because the truth is, some of your best work might come from days when you don't feel particularly creative or motivated. Here are a few things to keep in mind. Creativity can be uncomfortable. The process of creating isn't always accompanied by a sense of excitement or flow. Sometimes it feels like pulling teeth. But just because a particular session feels hard or uninspired, that doesn't mean that your output's going to be poor. The quality of your work isn't always reflected by the mood you were in when you were doing it. Another thing to keep in mind is that the reward comes after. And what I mean by this is that it won't feel good while you're doing it, but it will eventually, because often the satisfaction and pride in what you're doing comes after the work is done, not before and not during. Trust that even on tough days, the effort you put in has value. It's only when you look back that you realize those difficult sessions contributed just as much, if not more, to your growth. Embrace the grind. Part of being a consistent creator, which is a big part of being a successful one, is understanding that not every moment will feel rewarding or inspired. Accepting that good work can be created without the rush of inspiration helps you push through the hard moments and build a routine that doesn't rely on fleeting feelings. Separate process from product. Your experience during the creative process doesn't dictate the final product. We think it does a lot of the time, but it really doesn't. There will be days where you feel completely disconnected from the work you're doing, yet the outcome can still be something you're proud of later. Believe me, I've lived this. Trust that your commitment will carry you through. And the difficult, stressful emotions attached to the process when you were making it, they'll often fade once you see the final results. And finally, I want you to bear this in mind. Don't judge the process too soon. It's easy to think that if a creative session feels like a struggle, it isn't going to be worthwhile. But as Frank Hebert reminds us, you can't tell the difference later on between the work that came from inspiration and the work that was carved out via discipline. Allow yourself to create constantly without judging how it feels. Okay, let's talk about how the writing went. So this update covers 3 days of writing work. On day 12, I managed to do 2 tasks, so twice as much as I had planned. Day 13, I took completely off. I was exhausted. Justin was off. I wanted to spend time with him. And then on day 14, I got up early before Justin got up and I knocked off another 2 points. So over the process of 3 days, I did 4 points, which is really great. I was already ahead of schedule and I went a little faster than I needed to. The hardest thing I wrote over that 3-day period was the big reveal. So in Cozy Mysteries, the reader not only gets to find out who done it, but they also get to figure out exactly how and also what happens to the criminal after the story is ended. Like, do they get caught? Do they plead? Do they get sentenced? You know, what's happening? Are there repercussions? In the cozy mystery genre, readers get a sense of closure and tying up of loose plot ends that you rarely get in other crime fiction subgenres, and certainly that you don't get in real life all the time. My challenge in writing all of this was to explain all of this background and conclusion to the readers by showing, not telling. I didn't want them to have to sit there and read a big block of text. So if you've ever done like puzzles, there'll be the puzzle in the main book and then there'll be an answer key in the back and you go to the answer key and you look it up if you get stuck. This is essentially the answer key to the mystery. But I didn't want it to feel like an answer key. I wanted it to feel like a good dynamic part of the plot. So it was a little tricky, and at times, a lot of the time, it did not feel good. This was not an easy bunch of writing that I did, but I'm really happy with how the final product came out. And that's what matters, just like I was just talking about. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm down to my last 4 writing tasks on the list. And they're all in the last chapter, which is a pretty long chapter. That is what happens after the criminal is caught. It resolves a bunch of character conflict issues, a bunch of little subplots, and it also hints at what's coming in the next book in the series, which I've already started to outline. And I think that's really important in series work. You need to be thinking about the sequels. So right now I have some firm plans for book 2, I have some more tentative plans for book 3, and some more nebulous plans for later on, ... But yeah, I wanted to kind of, not necessarily do a cliffhanger, but tease a little bit that the overarching story about Maybe's background as a 900-year-old shapeshifter, while the reader has learned a lot, there's a lot still to discover. So that's important to me, and it's fun work. This is fun work for me. I love doing endings, but there's a lot still to do. Okay, on the house buying front, a lot happened since the last time I talked to you. We finalized our post-inspection agreement with the seller. They were wonderfully accommodating, and I'm so grateful for that. They really are being wonderful and working with us and putting a lot of thought into our comfort, so I'm very happy to buy their house. It's very win-win. I feel great about that. You know, sometimes when you're in sales negotiations, there's this belief that you gotta play hardball and you gotta beat the other guy, and no, that's not what's happening here. It's a really nice situation. Our house also passed appraisal with the bank, so the bank is satisfied that we're not overpaying for it. Yay! That was really the last big thing I couldn't control in all of this. Closing is just in a couple of days. We then shift to moving in and things like getting the internet guy to come out and hook up our internet so we can work out there. And then the week after we close, we're flying back to Texas to let the movers into our storage unit, and we're going to meet up with some of our friends in Texas while we're there. And then we're taking our other car, which is also in storage, and we are driving it from Texas to Oregon so we can have it here with us. Could be interesting this time of year. We've got the Rocky Mountains, we got the Cascade Mountains, and y'all haven't seen my other car. I'm talking to you from a Jeep right now. The other car is like a little red sporty thing. So we're good drivers, we'll be careful. We both grew up with rugged winters, and we have plans for if we get snowed in and we have to move hotels around. So should be interesting. I'm gonna try to film some updates with you folks. I don't know when I'm going to be posting them as I go, but I will definitely record things. It all depends on how much time we have to edit and what's happening, but I'm gonna document it for you. I suspect that my next update in the series might actually come from my house. It all depends, but that would be very exciting. Apologies if the next update doesn't come out for a little while. This update and the one before it were released a little bit after I actually recorded them, because I mentioned in the last update my friends have had some life stuff, and editing has been hard to keep up on. I'm doing my best though. I'm making sure I am doing my work and documenting for you, at least in text, filming the updates when I can, putting them out when I can. You know, I gotta work with it. I'm very, very busy. I am doing my best. I just wanted to show you that it's possible. And also, I think it's a good lesson about how to create flexibility when things get tough in the middle of a busy time like this. So you can see as a creator that there are levers to pull and ways to do that. Anyway, it's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.